So Trump has backed down after realizing he can't compete with Canada, eh?
You know who this is, mother. Get your ass up, pick up the phone, and call me back.
Yeah, you heard that right. After threatening to put a 25% tariff on Canadian imported goods, now all of a sudden, after Canada has decided to bite back with retaliatory tariffs, and by potentially threatening to just turn off their electricity, now he's talking about, okay, I guess we'll put a pause on this for now.
You know that everyone thinks you're crazy?
Yes.
We knew what this was. We all knew that he was all bite, no bark. This was a classic example of a narcissistic leader who genuinely believes that everybody needs to bend at their beck and call. And that was not the case with Canada.
Now, this all comes as Donald Trump has delayed the imposition of tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 30 days. The leaders of both countries have agreed to strengthen border controls to clamp down on migration and drug trafficking into the US.
This break is essentially going to be for the next 30 days until they come up with a long-term solution. But it's just so funny to see how this turned out. The fact that he was so gung-ho about, yeah, we don't need to subsidize Canada and Canada is reliant on us and this, that, and a third. Literally all of Canada assembled together like the Avengers.
Assemble.
All across the provinces, all the territories, everybody just got it together. I was like, okay, bet. Retaliatory tariffs. We're going to turn off your electricity. In fact, we're going to potentially just stop sending energy exports to you guys altogether. And now all of a sudden it's, okay, let's come up with a long-term solution as long as you have more people at the border. Meanwhile, Canada was already doing that. So we're going to dive into that today. We're going to discuss this whole potential trade war situation, how Canadians are navigating it, and the things that we should be doing moving forward, regardless of what happens in the next 30 days. Trump, over the last few weeks, honestly, since December, has essentially been threatening to put tariffs on Canada, which is not a good look, not a good decision in the slightest. Like, everyone from economists to people in finance to just your everyday citizen has been saying how disastrous of an idea this would be. However, he has been pushing and threatening and saying that, no, I'm putting the tariffs. Canada, we don't need to subsidize this country anymore, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to today, where he essentially said, we changed our mind. We're going to give a 30-day pause, which, whatever.
Just when I thought they couldn't get any stupider.
Said that Canada bent its knee to him.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying, and I'm quoting here, Canada is bending the knee just like Mexico.
Which I'm like, again, wildly insulting, incredibly offensive. But I just want to explain what this whole tariff situation is and why it's important that we discuss it. And the fact that the pause for the tariffs as of now is only going to be for the next 30 days until they come up with a long-term solution. So we still need to take action and prepare ourselves. We don't know how his emotions are going to drive him into making yet another drastic decision that may impact Canadians. So grab a snack, grab a drink, because we are going to break this down. Okay, first and foremost, what even is a tariff? As I said before, a tariff is honestly just a fancy word for a price that is put on imported goods, so things that are coming into the country. So for example, if the US puts a 25% tariff on Canadian steel, it means that American companies that buy Canadian steel would have to pay 25% more. That cost gets passed down to businesses and then eventually to the consumers. So the same thing if we put tariffs on American products. It makes them more expensive for Canadians to buy. So you might be asking, okay, why is Trump doing this? Honestly, that's a question that we ask for every single decision that Trump has been making thus far. Let's dive into why he's actively trying to ruin the relationship between America and its number one partner and ally, Canada. He says that it's because Canada is not doing enough to stop illegal immigration and the flow of fentanyl into the United States. So essentially, he's using tariffs as a way to pressure us into taking action at the border. And it's interesting to see that he's now giving himself the credit for the fact that we have paused the tariffs for 30 days.
Do you know you have 30 minutes? Are you kidding me? 30.
Despite the fact that the resolutions that we've agreed to are things that we were already doing. So basically, he's just trying to paint this as a win for him. Like he forced Canada to do what he wanted. So you might be wondering, okay, if America does actually enact the 25% tariff, how will it actually impact us as Canadians? Like, how will it actually impact our everyday life? I don't want to be a doomsday person or to try to strike fear into people, but realistically, if the 25% tariff were to follow through, it could be disastrous for Canadians and Canadian industries. As we all know, the US is our biggest trading partner. If our goods suddenly become way more expensive, American companies may stop buying from us and might try to look elsewhere. Mind you, there are quite a few essential goods that Canada produces that America would not be able to get anywhere else. So I don't know what they expect to do in that situation. But if they were able to get alternatives for other Canadian goods, it would have a huge impact on us. This could mean layoffs, factory closures, and a big hit to our economy. Jobs would be lost in industries like auto manufacturing, forestry, and agriculture. This tariff situation wouldn't just hurt big companies, it would hit everyday working Canadians as well, from factory workers to farmers. But again, the reason why this whole situation is a literal disaster is not only does it impact Canadians the way that he wants it to, it will absolutely impact Americans as well. At the end of the day, America needs Canadian goods. It's not a case of, maybe we can get maple syrup somewhere else. No, what about electricity? You're going to need so many natural resources that you can only get from Canada. At the end of the day, the US needs Canadian goods. They rely on us for lumber, for steel, for aluminum, for oil, and for auto parts. For example, many American construction companies use Canadian lumber and steel. If those prices jump because of tariffs, guess what? The cost of building houses, bridges, roads, and just any sort of important infrastructure that you need to build a country is going to go up. That means more expensive homes, higher rent prices, and even more expensive infrastructure projects. And let's talk about energy. The United States gets 50% of its imported oil from Canada. If they decide to follow suit with slapping tariffs on it, American gas prices are going to skyrocket. So while Trump might say this is about protecting American jobs, it's actually going to cost Americans a lot more at the end of the day. The responses across Canada to this entire situation has just been so delicious. But this entire situation has literally woken everybody up like a sleeper agent. Like, everybody now is so full of Canadian pride. And it's been so nice to see people discuss like all of the ways they plan to better support Canadians or Canadian businesses or trying to buy Canadian products more. And so I'll dive into that a little bit later. But for now, let's talk about the retaliatory tariff. I genuinely love that Canada is not just going to take this lying down. As our current Prime Minister has been saying, we are going to hit back with our own tariffs. This would be 25% on $30 billion worth of American imported goods. That means American companies like Pepsi, cosmetic products, paper products, and just honestly anything you can think of will be more expensive in Canada. And if fewer Canadians buy US goods, that will hurt American businesses. And honestly, nobody really wanted this. Nobody was asking for this. We weren't anticipating to go into a potential trade war with our biggest ally. Considering that this is something that the current American president wants and has been asking for and is making plans to implement, I'm so happy that Canada decided to stand on business and come up with a plan right back. This is where things get extra juicy, okay? Because some Canadian politicians have even brought up the idea of just cutting off all energy exports to the United States. Obviously, this would be a very strong form of retaliation, but it's something that a lot of Canadians agree with. It might sound extreme and it's a very controversial topic right now, but Canada does supply 10% of electricity in the United States. So imagine if we just turned off the switch. But the fact that this is even being discussed just goes to show how serious this potential trade war could get. I do want to end this on a positive note because I just feel like this has sparked so much conversation across Canada. What I've been seeing a lot of people discussing is supporting Canadian products and buying local. So what can we actually do about all of this? One of the easiest ways for us to stand up and fight back is by supporting Canadian businesses. Every dollar that we spend on Canadian-made products helps strengthen our economy and makes us less dependent on other countries like the United States. It's nice to know that a lot more people are talking about supporting just more and more Canadian businesses, even if it means taking more time when you're grocery shopping or when you're just out and about and actually reading the labels to see if something is made in another country or actually produced in Canada. If you're looking to support Canadian businesses, always make sure to double check and see if it was actually produced here. It's been so nice to see so many people have so much national pride and talk about ways that we can actually improve our country. And I feel like for so long, so many Canadians have been so apathetic, don't have a lot of interest as to what's going on in politics. And I'm so glad to see so many people, especially people my age, whether they're Gen Z or millennials or whatever the case is, who are becoming way more engaged in politics, because politics isn't just talking points. It's things that actively affect our everyday life. And seeing so many people become educated about how we can be more active citizens or what we can do better or how we can advocate for change in our country has just been beautiful. With that being said, this whole situation is a wake-up call. We need to start looking out for ourselves, building up our industries, and supporting each other as Canadians. Because at the end of the day, we can't rely on any other country, especially the US, to have our back all the time. And this is why it's so important for Canada to stand up and invest in itself, and to have leaders who believe that they should invest in Canada and genuinely believe in the success and the prosperity of this country, and don't just slink away when times get tough. We need leaders who are going to stand on business, who are going to lock in for Canada and make sure that they have our best interests at heart and don't just throw us under the rug when the going gets tough. That's not going to work. We need a leader with a backbone, and that's all the more reason why I need everybody to be very aware when it comes to this upcoming federal election that's most likely going to happen within the next few months. But also the provincial election. So if you are based in Ontario, you probably know that there is an upcoming election taking place on February 27th. I'll do a separate video on that closer to the date so I can remind everybody to be prepared and to make sure that they register to vote. But that will come at a later time. As for now, I just want everybody to be aware, do your research, ask questions, be critical, and make sure that you are supporting candidates who actually support us. We have to stick together, support local, and show that Canada is not backing down in the face of adversity. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to know your thoughts about this entire situation. And if you have any suggestions of things that you would like for me to discuss in the future, please feel free to let me know. I would love to talk some more about this, and you guys can let me know your thoughts about this whole tariff situation and how Canada is navigating it, and just overall how you're feeling thus far. But again, thank you so much. Bye-bye.